Hi students, we are discussing the experimental determination of order of reactions. In that already initial rate method and Ostwald's isolation method we are discussed. Now we have to go for another method, that is integrated rate equation method. Integrated rate equation for first order kinetics and zero order kinetics we are already derived. Equation of rate constant for a first order reaction is K equal to 2.303 divided by T into log initial concentration of reactant A naught divided by concentration of reactant left in time T. This is for first order reaction. Similarly, for zero order reaction, K equal to 1 by T into initial concentration A naught minus concentration of reactant left in time T. So, these are the equations of rate constant for first order reaction and zero order reactions. Now, how can you calculate order of reaction using these equations? That is the task now. Suppose if the reaction is of the type A gives rise to products, at a time t equal to 0 and at a time t, if concentrations of A are known to you, time t is known, A naught is known, At is known, we are able to find out K in both these equations. Suppose at different times, if concentration of reactant A is known to you, at time t equal to 0, concentration of reactant A is some C1 or C0. At time t equal to some 5 seconds or 5 minutes, if concentration is some C1, 10 minute C2, 15 minute C3. If this is the information known to us, means initial concentration of reactant is C0, at 5 minute time concentration of reactant is C1, at 10 minute time C2 and so on. Using this data, by substituting these values in this equation, at all the times when you are getting the same value of K, means from 0 time to 5 minute time, if you want to find out K value, we have to substitute K equal to 2.303 divided by time interval is from 0 minute to 5 minute, that is 5 into log concentration of reactant initial is C0, at a time t equal to 5 minute it is C1. So, C0 value known to us, C1 is known to us, 5 is substituted, we are getting one value of K, let it be some K1. Similarly, by substituting another value, that means at a time t equal to 10 minute, by substituting C2 concentration, find out the value of K, let it be K2. K2 equal to 2.303 by 10 into log, again initial concentration at a time t equal to 0 is C0, from time interval 0 minute to 10 minute, concentration changed is from C0 to C2, so final concentration is C2. If the reaction A gives rise to products follows first order kinetics, whatever may be the concentration of reactant, the value of rate constant must be same at C1 concentration as well as C2 concentration, or at a time t equal to 5 minute or 10 minute, even though there is a change in concentration, value of rate constant must be a constant. If we are getting constant value of K, means first time and second time, if the values of K are same, then only you have to say that the reaction is following first order kinetics. If K1 is not equal to K2, there is a difference between these two values, then we have to say that this particular reaction is not following first order kinetics. It may be some different order, that may be 0 order or second order or 0.5 order, whatever it may be. No doubt we can say that that reaction is not following first order kinetics, that is it. Means it is a hit and trail method. You are substituting concentrations at different times, we are getting K value using the equation of rate constant for first order reaction. At all the times if K remains same, that reaction is following first order kinetics, otherwise it is not. Then if it is not following first order kinetics, then you have to go for other order, that is say 0 order reaction. Again substitute the values of A at different times. From first time to second time, if K value remains constant, by substituting the values in the rate equation for 0 order rate constant, definitely you have to say that reaction is following 0 order kinetics. So, in which equation by substituting the values of concentration, we are getting constant value of rate constant, we have to say that the particular reaction is following that order. Is it clear? Yes. Now, the question is how to find these concentrations. Finding concentrations experimentally depending upon the nature of reaction, from reaction to reaction, that way of finding concentration of reactants will be varied. I am taking an example of hydrogen peroxide decomposition. You know that H2O2 dissociation follows first order kinetics. H2O2 dissociated to give H2O plus half O2. H2O2 is actually aqueous solution, that is in liquid state. H2O is also liquid, but oxygen is gas. In order to find the order of hydrogen peroxide, first of all you have to check with equation of rate constant for first order kinetics, 2.303 by T into log H2O2 concentration at time 0 to concentration of H2O2 at time T. So, how can you find concentration of hydrogen peroxide? If you remember, in hydrogen peroxide, oxidation reactions of hydrogen peroxide and reduction reactions of hydrogen peroxide, you already studied the reaction between H2O2 and KMnO4. H2O2 acts as a reducing agent which reduces acidified potassium permanganate This is unbalanced equation. Potassium permanganate is an oxidizing agent which oxidizes hydrogen peroxide to O2. Similarly, H2O2 is able to reduce acidified potassium permanganate to manganese sulphate. Now, hydrogen peroxide concentration from time to time, how can you calculate? First, a known volume of hydrogen peroxide, say 100 ml, must be taken in a conical flask and it should be titrated with potassium permanganate solution. H2O2 solution is colorless in the conical flask. In burette, KMnO4 must be taken, that has purple color. By the addition of KMnO4 solution dropwise, after addition of some quantity, say 20 ml of KMnO4 solution, you may get a color change. So, after addition of 20 ml of KMnO4, if we are getting color change, then we have to say that, we have to conclude that 20 ml of KMnO4 solution is just sufficient for oxidizing all the 100 ml of hydrogen peroxide taken in the conical flask, right. That is one experiment. Next you have to do another experiment. So that experiment is over. 100 ml of H2O2 solution is taken in the conical flask, titrated with KMnO4 solution. So at a time t equal to 0, volume of potassium permanganate required is calculated by you, that is some 20 ml. Now another experiment is, again you have to take 100 ml of H2O2 solution, a fresh sample of hydrogen peroxide again you have to take, but now that 100 ml of H2O2 solution in the conical flask must be kept aside for some time, let it be 5 minutes. So up to 5-minute time interval, you are allowing hydrogen peroxide for its self dissociation like this. So on its own H2O2 is dissociating in presence of sunlight. So from 0 minute to 5-minute time interval, tell me, is there any decrease in concentration of hydrogen peroxide or not? As some number of molecules of H2O2 is dissociated, no doubt its concentration will decrease. So after decreasing, you have to calculate again concentration of hydrogen peroxide. Means at a time t equal to 0, already concentration of H2O2 was calculated, let it be C0. Then at a time t equal to 5 minutes, you have to find out concentration of hydrogen peroxide again. For that, again you have to do the titration of KMnO4 with H2O2 solution. Let the volume of KMnO4 required here may be less than 20 ml or more than 20 ml. Tell me. If more number of molecules of H2O2 are there, volume of KMnO4 required is 20 ml. After dissociation of some molecules of H2O2, remaining molecules only now you have to oxidize using KMnO4 solution. Obviously, volume of KMnO4 required will be less than 20 ml now. So that may be some 17 ml. That experiment is over. Now you have to take another fresh sample, 100 ml of hydrogen peroxide in another conical flask, and it should be now kept aside for 10-minute time. So from 0 minute to 5 minute, there is a dissociation of H2O2. Now the remaining molecules are to be titrated with KMnO4 solution. Again, volume of KMnO4 required will be less than that 17 ml. Now it may be some 14 ml or 15 ml. So like that you have to do the experiment. At every time, volume of potassium permanganate is calculating by you. Based on the volume of KMnO4 calculated, after balancing this equation, you will get M1 V1 by N1 is equal to M2 V2 by N2. If molarity of potassium permanganate, volume of KMnO4 required, stoichiometric moles are known to you. By knowing volume of hydrogen peroxide that we are taking here 100 ml, can you calculate M1 or not? So N1 and N2 are stoichiometric coefficients of H2O2 and KMnO4. They are actually 5 mole of H2O2 will react with 2 mole of KMnO4. So these N1 and N2s are known. Molarity of KMnO4 is known to you. Already standard solution of KMnO4 we are using. M2 is known. Then from experiment to experiment, volume of KMnO4 we are finding. V1 is already known to you, that is known volume of H2O2 you are transferred into the conical flask. So all these things are known to you. You can calculate concentration of H2O2. At a time t equal to 0, it is considered as C0. At a time t equal to 5 minutes, C1, t equal to 10 minutes, C2, and so on. So that is the way of finding concentration of hydrogen peroxide. Based on that, this C1, C2, C3 values are to be substituted, we will get value of K. If the value of K remains constant at 5-minute time, 10-minute time, 15-minute time, we have to say that reaction is following first order kinetics. Now I will give you a question based on this. Take that question. So this is the question. Find the order of reaction, that is dissociation of hydrogen peroxide from the data given. Time 0 minute, volume of KMnO4 required is 25 ml, at a time t equal to 10 minute 16 ml, 20 minute 10.5 ml, 30 minutes 7.09 ml. So, when you are observing this data, you can conclude that from time to time with the progress of the reaction, volume of potassium permanganate required is decreasing. Why it is so? Because from 0 minute to 10 minute time, hydrogen peroxide some amount is dissociated. After dissociation of some amount, you are titrating with KMnO4 solution. So, obviously less volume of KMnO4 is required. From 10 minute to 20 minute, again some more quantity of H2O2 is dissociated. So, remaining molecules only now you are titrating with KMnO4 solution. Again volume of KMnO4 required is further less. Similarly, from 20 minute to 30 minute also volume of KMnO4 is reduced. Now, we have to get initial concentration of hydrogen peroxide H2O2 at time t equal to 0 and H2O2 at different times is required to you. No doubt at the beginning more amount of H2O2 is present in the conical flask, definitely volume of KMnO4 required is maximum. So, initial concentration of hydrogen peroxide, if it is high, maximum volume of KMnO4 is required. So, initial concentration of H2O2 is directly proportional to initial volume of KMnO4 required, let it be V naught. So, at 0 time volume is taken as V naught, at 10 minute time let it be some Vt, at 20 minute time if it is Vt1 it may be Vt2 and so on. So, H2O2 concentration at time t is directly proportional to what? Vt1 or not? At time t, volume of KMnO4 required, if it is more, we can say that more amount of hydrogen peroxide is left in the conical flask. So, whatever the volume of KMnO4 required, that is proportional to the concentration of hydrogen peroxide left in the conical flask. If more amount of H2O2 is left in the conical flask, more volume of KMnO4 is required. So, volume of KMnO4 at time t, Vt, and concentration of hydrogen peroxide at time t are directly related to each other. So, H2O2 initial concentration is proportional to V naught and H2O2 concentration at time t is proportional to Vt. Therefore, the equation is K equal to 2.303 by T into log H2O2 concentration at time 0 is proportional to V naught. So, V naught divided by Vt we can write. So, at different times find out the rate constant value K1 equal to 2.303 divided by time from 0 minute to 10 minute time. So, final time is 10 minute into log initial concentration is proportional to initial volume of KMnO4 required, that is V naught 25 divided by Vt1, that is 16 ml. Similarly, another rate constant K2 equal to 2.303 divided by, instead of 10 minute now you take 20 into log initial volume of KMnO4 25 divided by 10.5. At both the times when rate constant value almost same, we have to say that dissociation of hydrogen peroxide follows first order kinetics. The values of K1 and K2 are almost same. So, we have to say that H2O2 follows first order kinetics, order equal to 1. Yes, K1 is approximately equal to K2. Verify that. Are you getting same values of K or not? So, this is one way of finding order of reaction. By substituting concentrations at different times, we are getting the value of rate constant. At all the times that value remains constant, that is following that particular order. From dissociation of hydrogen peroxide, order can be found out in another way also, because H2O2 here is a liquid, H2O is also a liquid, but oxygen is a gas. From time to time, number of molecules of hydrogen peroxide is dissociating, so that number of molecules of oxygen is producing. For a dissociation of every 2 molecules of H2O2, 1 molecule of O2 is produced. Suppose in a conical flask, some 100 molecules of hydrogen peroxide were taken. From 0 minute to 10 minute time, out of 100, some 10 molecules of H2O2 were dissociated. Then how many molecules of O2 will be produced? Obviously it is 5. Then from 10 to 20 minute time, some 8 molecules of H2O2 again are dissociated, so that 4 molecules of O2 will be produced. So if more and more amount of H2O2 is dissociating, more and more amount of O2 is producing. Tell me, at what time maximum amount of oxygen is produced? At what time maximum amount of oxygen is produced, I am telling. Maximum oxygen produced will be how much, tell me? If 100 molecules of H2O2 are taken in the conical flask, what is the maximum number of molecules of O2 produced? If all these 100 are dissociated, you will get 50 molecules of O2. So, maximum volume of oxygen is produced when all the hydrogen peroxide taken in the conical flask is dissociated. So, what is the time required for that? The time required for complete dissociation of hydrogen peroxide will be taken as infinity time. So, at infinite time, we have to assume that hydrogen peroxide is completely dissociated. So, volume of oxygen is to, or number of moles of oxygen is to be calculated. So, another information will be given to you as time t equal to 0. At 0 time, is there any oxygen produced? Just hydrogen peroxide when taken in the conical flask, no oxygen is present. So, at time t equal to 0, no oxygen. So, 0 time will not be given to you. Time t given will be 10 minute, some 20 minute, 30 minute, and infinity will be given. Corresponding number of moles of O2 can be given, or instead of giving a number of moles of O2, as oxygen is a gas, number of moles is equal to, or PV is equal to nRT. So, volume can be calculated as nRT by V. If more number of moles of O2 are produced, volume of oxygen produced will be high. So, volume of oxygen produced will be given at different time intervals. Volume sum, it may be V1, V2, V3 and so on, and it is V infinity. Now, what are the values to be substituted at different times? K equal to 2.303 by T into log initial concentration of H2O2 divided by H2O2 at time t. But initial concentration of hydrogen peroxide is proportional to what? Just now we are discussed. Initial volume, initial concentration of hydrogen peroxide is proportional to volume of oxygen produced at infinity time. All these volumes are volumes of O2. At a time t equal to 10 minutes, lesser volume of oxygen will be there, because only few number of molecules of H2O2 are dissociated. From 10 minutes to 20 minutes, some more number of molecules of H2O2 dissociated, So, V2 will be greater than V1. From 20 minute to 30 minute, again some more number of molecules of H2O2 will be dissociated, more amount of O2 will be produced. At infinity time, all the molecules of H2O2 are dissociated, maximum volume of O2 is produced. So, the volume of oxygen produced at infinity time is proportional to initial concentration of hydrogen peroxide. So, concentration of H2O2 at time 0 is proportional to V infinity. Then what is the concentration of hydrogen peroxide at time t equal to 10 minutes? That is proportional to what? Think and tell me. At infinity time, all the H2O2 is dissociated. At time t equal to 10 minutes, V1 is the volume of oxygen produced. You have to find out concentration of hydrogen peroxide left now. This V1 is the volume of oxygen produced, that is proportional to volume of hydrogen peroxide or number of moles of hydrogen peroxide dissociated. If more H2O is dissociated, more will be the value of V1. Clear or not? So, this V1 is proportional to dissociated number of molecules of H2O2. Okay? So, what is the number of molecules of H2O2 left now? That you have to find out. So, V infinity is proportional to initial number of molecules of H2O2. Vt is proportional to number of molecules of H2O2 dissociated. So, number of molecules of H2O2 left is V infinity minus Vt. So, H2O2 at a time t is proportional to V infinity minus Vt. Now, these you have to substitute in this. K equal to 2.303 by T into log V infinity divided by V infinity minus Vt. It is one way. I will give example for this type of question also. Take that. So, this is the data given. Same. H2O2 is dissociated to give from time to time as H2O2 number of molecules is dissociating, number of molecules of O2 is increasing. So, volume of O2 producing is also increasing. So, 6.3 at 10 minute, 8.95 at 15 minute, 11.4 and so on. Just as we discussed now, initial volume of H2O2 is proportional to what? Volume of oxygen produced at infinity time, V infinity, and H2O2 at a time t is proportional to V infinity minus Vt. Therefore, K1 equal to 2.303 divided by T is now 10 minute log V infinity is 35.75 divided by 35.75 minus 6.3. That is one value of K. Another value of K, K2 equal to now 2.303 divided by 15 into log 35.75 divided by 35.75 minus 8.95. Again approximately K1 is equal to K2. So, H2O2 dissociation follows first order kinetics. So, if H2O2 concentration is calculated based on the information of volume of KMnO4 required at different times, you have to use K equal to 2.303 by T into log V0 divided by Vt. Here V infinity divided by V infinity minus Vt, that is varying from one type of reaction to another type of reaction. From the knowledge of the reaction, you have to substitute the values. Then another type of question can be given is some reactant A in gaseous state may give B gas and C gas on dissociation. If that is the hypothetical equation given to you, now the information given to you will be pressures. At a time t equal to 0, pressure will be given. Let it be P naught. Time t equal to 0 means what? There is no dissociation of A, only A is present, no B and C are there in the reaction flask at time t equal to 0. So, whatever may be the pressure we are observing, that pressure is only because of gas A. Therefore, this pressure is directly proportional to number of molecules of A or not. If more number of molecules of A are present, if more number of moles of A are present, pressure of A will be high. So, initial concentration of A is proportional to pressure at time t equal to 0, that is P naught. Now, after some time, say some 10-minute time, if pressure observed is some P1, now you think this pressure P1 is only because of gas A, or this is due to unreacted gas A and the gases B and C produced. No doubt, at time t equal to 10 minutes, if all A is not dissociated, some amount of A if it is dissociated, unreacted A is left over some quantity and B and C are formed some quantity. Suppose as initial pressure of A is taken as P naught, out of P naught pressure, there is a drop in pressure of A as some P dash. We can say that pressure drop is directly proportional to number of moles of A dissociated. If more number of moles of A is dissociated, more will be the drop in pressure. Therefore, initial concentration is directly proportional to P naught and the number of moles or concentration of A dissociated is proportional to P dash. So, P naught minus P dash is concentration of A left over, or P naught minus P dash is proportional to concentration of A left over. So, if P dash is the drop in pressure due to dissociation of some A, obviously from dissociation of 1 mole of A, 1 mole each of B and C are forming, therefore, pressures developed from B and C is also P dash and P dash. For every 1 mole dissociation of A, 1 mole each of B and C are formed. So, if P dash is the pressure of A, P dash is the increase in pressures of B and C. Now, what is this P1? Now, P1 is equal to pressure of A plus pressure of B plus pressure of C. P naught minus P dash plus P dash plus P dash. P naught plus P dash. So, P dash can be calculated as P1 minus P naught. But what is our requirement? P naught minus P dash is our requirement. Concentration of A left in time t is our requirement. Therefore, P naught minus P dash is equal to P naught minus P1 minus of minus P dash, that is plus minus of minus P naught plus P naught This is 2 P naught minus P1. Therefore, initial concentration of A is proportional to P naught. Now, concentration of A at time t is proportional to, that is P naught minus P dash, means that is proportional to 2 P naught minus P1. So, P naught is given to you, P1 is also given to you. You can substitute these in the equation of K equal to 2.303 by T into log concentration of A at time 0 divided by concentration of A at time t. That is K equal to 2.303 by T into log initial concentration is proportional to P naught divided by 2 P naught minus P dash. At different times you have to substitute P dash value. At time t equal to 10 minutes if P1 is the pressure, time t equal to 20 minutes if P2 is the pressure. At a 10-minute time and a 20-minute time, by substituting these values, if we get the same value of K, we have to say that that reaction is following first order kinetics. I will give you one example of this kind also. This is the question given to you. Arsine decomposes as 2AsH3 gives rise to 2As solid plus 3H2 gas. Here arsine is gas, hydrogen is gas, but arsenic is solid. In the previous equation, hypothetical equation we were considered is A gas gives B gas plus C gas, all are gases, but here one is a solid. Whatever may be the number of moles of arsenic produced due to decomposition of arsine, there is no pressure developed because of arsenic, because it is solid. So, whatever may be the pressures we are observing, the pressures are due to AsH3 gas and H2 gas, that is it. So, these are the pressures given at different times. Using this data, you have to find out the value of K if the dissociation of arsine follows first order kinetics. So, you take the equation of K equal to 2.303 by T into log again initial concentration of arsine AsH3 at time 0 divided by AsH3 at time t. But initial concentration of arsine or initial number of moles of arsine is directly proportional to which pressures in these? Tell me. Time t equal to 0, no hydrogen gas is present, only arsine is present. Therefore, initial concentration of arsine is proportional to initial pressure P naught. This is P naught, it is P1, P2 and so on. And what about concentration of arsine at time t? It is proportional to what? Is it proportional to Pt alone? Means at a time 5.5 minute P1 and arsine left at a time t are directly proportional to each other? No, because this P1 1.06 atmosphere pressure is due to unreacted arsine and formed hydrogen gas. So, from 0 minute to 5.5 minute time, arsine is not completely dissociated, some amount of arsine is left over, some amount of hydrogen gas is produced. Of course, arsenic is also produced, but it is a solid, no need to be worried about that arsenic solid, whatever may be the amount produced. So, number of moles of arsine left and hydrogen left only causes some pressure, only develops some pressure. So, this P1 or let it be Pt is equal to, if P naught is the initial pressure of arsenic, out of that let some 2 P dash is the pressure drop, because stoichiometric coefficients of arsine and hydrogen are 2 and 3. That is why 2p dash is the drop in pressure of arsine I am taking, so that 3p dash is the pressure of hydrogen produced. Therefore, Pt must be taken as P naught minus 2p dash plus 3p dash. How much it is? P naught plus p dash, but p dash is equal to Pt minus p naught. So, if p dash is equal to Pt minus p naught, our requirement is P naught minus 2p dash value, because concentration left is directly proportional to P naught minus 2p dash. Initial concentration is proportional to P naught, concentration left in time t is P naught minus 2p dash. So, P naught minus of minus plus 2 P naught plus P naught, 3 P naught minus 2 Pt. Therefore, arsine concentration at time t is proportional to 3 P naught minus 2 Pt. So, substitute this, K equal to 2.303 divided by, first I am taking 5.5 minute time, 5.5 hour time into log initial pressure 0.9654 atmosphere divided by 3 into 0.9654 minus 2 into 1.06. So, this is one K value, another K value K2 equal to 2.303 divided by 6.5 into log 0.9654 divided by 3 into 0.9654 minus 2 into now 1.076. Both the times we have to find out the values of K. K1 is approximately equal to K2, then decomposition of arsine is also following first order kinetics. K value is average of these, K1 plus K2 plus K3 plus K4 divided by 4. So, this is how to find out the order of reaction using integrated rate equation. This is a hit and trial method. By substituting different values of concentration at different times in equation of rate constant for first order reaction, at all the times when you are getting same value of K, you have to say that that reaction is following first order kinetics. Otherwise, you have to go for other equation, that it may be zero order. If it is not satisfied, you have to go for second order, third order, that is hit and trial method, that will take much time. There is another method for identification of order of reaction, that is half-life method. It is already given to you that T half of zero order reaction is directly proportional to initial concentration. And first order reaction, T half is independent of initial concentration. And second order reaction, integrated rate equation can be derived from second order reaction also. From that half-life period also will be derived. For that T half is inversely proportional to initial concentration of reactant. In general, T half of nth order reaction is proportional to 1 by initial concentration of reactant to the power of n minus 1. If order is equal to 0, you have to substitute n equal to 0. So, T half is proportional to 1 by a power 0 minus 1, a power minus 1, in numerator it is a, T half is proportional to a, that is 0 order reaction. If n is equal to 1, a naught to the power of 1 minus 1, 0, T half is independent of a naught. Similarly, n equal to 2, T half is proportional to 1 by a naught. So, for nth order reaction, T half is proportional to 1 by a naught to the power of n minus 1. Suppose the information given to you is half life of a reaction is equal to 1 hour if initial concentration of reactants is 100. If initial concentration of reactants is 200, half life period is equal to 2 hours. That is the question given to you. So, what is the order of reaction? I am repeating. T half of a reaction is equal to 1 hour if initial concentration is 100 mole per liter. T half is equal to 2 hour if initial concentration is equal to 200 mole per liter. Means if initial concentration is increased by 2 times, T half is also increased by 2 times, means T half is directly proportional to initial concentration. So, that order must be 0. If the information given to you is T half is equal to 1 hour if initial concentration is 100 mole per liter, T half is equal to again 1 hour if initial concentration is 200 mole per liter. Then what is the order of your reaction? T half is independent of initial concentration, first order reaction. Similarly, by doubling the concentration of reactant, if T half is reduced by 2 times, means T half is inversely proportional to initial concentration, that is second order reaction. So, based on the information of half life periods, you are able to calculate order of reaction. So, one question will be given to you based on this. This is the question. Initial concentration 350 mole per liter, half life period 425 hours, initial concentration 540 mole per liter, T half is 275 hours. Then what is the order of reaction? From this data, as initial concentration is increasing, half life period is decreasing. So, we can say that this reaction is not 0 order as well as first order. If it is 0 order, with increase in concentration, T half must increase. If it is first order reaction, T half must be independent of initial concentration. But with increase in concentration, T half is decreasing. It is not 0 and first order reaction. So, T half of any nth order reaction is 1 by some a power n minus 1 if A is initial concentration. So, T half of first experiment divided by T half of second experiment is equal to A2 by A1 whole to the power of n minus 1 we can write. A1 is initial concentration with respect to first T half, A2 is that with respect to second T half. So, T half of 1 by 2, 425 divided by 275 is equal to A2 540 divided by 350 whole to the power of n minus 1. From this you will get n is equal to 2. It is second order reaction. This is the question given to you, that is, by assuming first order kinetics, you have to find the rate constant value. For that, hydrolysis of methyl acetate is given in dilute HCl. Ester hydrolysis, methyl acetate is an ester, that ester is undergoing hydrolysis in presence of acid catalyst. So, HCl here acts as a catalyst. Methyl acetate is undergoing hydrolysis. CH3COOCH3 reacts with water in presence of HCl catalyst to give acetic acid CH3COOH plus methyl alcohol. That is the reaction. So, for this reaction to occur, we have to take some amount of methyl acetate, large quantity of water, some amount of hydrochloric acid in the reaction flask. Now, from this reaction flask, you are withdrawing 2 ml of the reaction mixture. To that, some 50 ml of water is added for this hydrolysis. Then that is titrating with baryta water. Volume of baryta water is given at different times. So, using this data, you have to calculate value of K. Now, the question here is, for what purpose baryta water is given, or by addition of baryta water, barium hydroxide solution, what is happening? Barium hydroxide is a base which neutralizes acid. Tell me, what are the acids present in this reaction mixture? Initially, methyl acetate, water and hydrochloric acid only are present. At time t equal to 0, only ester, water and hydrochloric acid are there in the reaction flask. No carboxylic acid, acetic acid and methyl alcohol are there. So, barium hydroxide at a time t equal to 0 neutralizes only hydrochloric acid. Means whatever may be the volume of barium hydroxide required, that is only for neutralization of HCl. That is given as 19.24 ml. So, 19.24 ml of barium hydroxide is utilized for neutralization of hydrochloric acid. But this 19.24 ml barium hydroxide is required all the times. The reason is HCl is a catalyst which is not at all consumed in the reaction. Catalyst alters the rate of reaction without being consumed in the reaction. So, as HCl concentration remains constant, volume of barium hydroxide required is always 19.24 ml for neutralization of HCl. At a time t equal to 75, barium hydroxide volume is 24.2 ml. Why some extra volume of barium hydroxide is required? Because some amount of acetic acid produced from 0 to 75 minute time. So, 19.24 ml is for neutralizing HCl, 24.2 minus 19.24 is for neutralizing acetic acid produced in the time interval from 0 to 75 minute. Next one. At time t equal to 119 minute, some more extra volume of barium hydroxide is needed, reason some more amount of acetic acid is producing. Similarly, with further progress of reaction, again volume of barium hydroxide is increased. At a time t equal to infinity, what does it mean? Infinity time means what? We have to assume the reaction 100% completed, almost reaction is completed. So, at infinity time, volume of barium hydroxide required is 42.03 ml. So, is this 42.03 is completely required for neutralization of acetic acid alone? Out of 42.03 ml, 19.24 ml is the volume of barium hydroxide needed for neutralizing HCl. So, 42.03 minus 19.24 is the volume of barium hydroxide neutralizing acetic acid solution produced at a time t equal to infinity. This acetic acid produced is maximum if methyl acetate is completely hydrolyzed. So, initial concentration of methyl acetate is directly proportional to what? Now, you tell me. No doubt, acetic acid produced at infinity time is proportional to methyl acetate initially taken. If 100 molecules of methyl acetate were taken at a time t equal to 0, 100 molecules of acetic acid will be produced at a time t equal to infinity. So, number of molecules of methyl acetate at a t equal to 0 is equal to number of molecules of acetic acid produced at a time t equal to infinity. So, volume of barium hydroxide required for neutralization of acetic acid at a time t equal to infinity is proportional to initial concentration of methyl acetate. CH3COOCH3 initial concentration is proportional to volume of barium hydroxide required at a time t equal to infinity for neutralization of acetic acid itself, that is V infinity minus V naught. V infinity is 42.03 minus V naught is 19.24 ml. So, the difference is the volume of barium hydroxide required for complete neutralization of acetic acid produced, that is same as concentration of acetic acid initially taken. Now, one more requirement to us is methyl acetate concentration at time t is proportional to what? Say at a time t equal to 75 minutes. Methyl acetate concentration left is equal to initial concentration of methyl acetate minus methyl acetate consumed, correct or not? But that methyl acetate consumed is proportional to acetic acid produced in the same time. So, acetic acid produced will be reacted with barium hydroxide. So, at a time t equal to 75 minutes, 24.2 ml volume of barium hydroxide is required. Out of this 19.24 is for HCl. So, 24.2 minus 19.24, that is Vt minus V naught, is the volume of barium hydroxide required for acetic acid produced, means that is methyl acetate reacted. So, methyl acetate reacted is proportional to CH3COOCH3 reacted is proportional to Vt minus V naught. So, 24.2 minus 19.24 is required for neutralization of acetic acid produced at a time t equal to 75 minutes. Therefore, methyl acetate left in time t is proportional to initial methyl acetate CH3COOCH3 is equal to CH3COOCH3 initial minus methyl acetate reacted. So, this is proportional to initial methyl acetate is V infinity minus V naught minus methyl acetate reacted is proportional to Vt minus V naught. Minus of minus plus V naught will be cancelled, that is V infinity minus Vt. Now, substitute these values in the equation. K equal to 2.303 by T into log CH3COOCH3 time 0 divided by CH3COOCH3 at a time t. So, K equal to 2.303 divided by T first I am taking 75 minutes into log initial concentration of methyl acetate V infinity minus V naught 42.03 minus 19.24 divided by V infinity minus Vt 42.03 minus 24.2. Similarly, K2 also you have to find out 2.303 divided by T is 119 minute into log 42.03 minus 19.24 divided by 42.03 minus 26.6. So, both the times the value of K is approximately same, K1 approximately equal to K2, means this reaction also follows first order kinetics and value of K you are able to calculate. Similarly, in next experiment also you can find out K, average of all those K values is actual value of rate constant K. So, these are different methods for calculation of order of reaction experimentally. The different methods we discussed are initial rate method, Ostwald's isolation method, then integrated rate equation method, that is using K equal to 2.303 by T into log initial concentration by concentration left. At different times, different concentrations, when you are substituted, when you are getting the same value of K at each time, you have to say that the reaction is following first order kinetics. Otherwise, you have to go for equation for zero order kinetics. If again you are not satisfied with the results, you have to go for other equation. It is hit and trail method. Then one more method is T-half method, half-life period method. T-half of nth order reaction is proportional to 1 by initial concentration to the power of n minus 1. Based on that information, you are able to find out order of reaction. Similarly, graphical method, by concentration versus rate graph, you can identify the order of reaction. The graphs for zero and first order reactions are already given to you. So, these are different experimental techniques for identifying the order for calculation of order of reaction. So, in chemical kinetics, so far we have discussed the rate of reaction, average rate, instantaneous rate. For a general equation of AA plus BB gives products, how to write the rate equation. Similarly, factors affecting the rate of reaction, nature of reactants, concentration of reactants. From that concentration of reactants, we got a new term, that is order of reaction. That order of reaction definition, rate constant definition, then integrated rate equation for zero order reaction and first order reaction. Based on that, different results. After that, experimental techniques for calculation of order of reaction that we have discussed so far.